Halloween last year was supposed to be the best night of my life. My best friend Jenna had been talking for weeks about the party at the old Whitmore house, a massive, half-renovated Victorian mansion on the edge of town that some tech startup guy had bought to flip. It wasn't finished yet, but that made it perfect for a Halloween party. No neighbors, no curfew, and just enough decay to make it feel like a movie set. Jenna had begged me to go. I'm not a party person, not the kind to drink or dance in front of people I barely know. But she promised it'd be fun, that I needed to get out of my head. So I said yes. I wish I hadn't. When we got there, the house looked like something from an old horror movie. Strings of orange lights hung from cracked windows. Fake cobwebs stretched across the porch railing. A fog machine was hissing from the yard, making everything look blurry and dreamlike. Music thumped inside, muffled bass vibrating through the wooden boards under my feet. Jenna laughed as we climbed the steps. Perfect, right? I nodded, but something already felt off. The front door was open and I could see people dancing under strobe lights inside. But the air in that house felt thick, like humidity mixed with static. The floors groaned beneath every step. Wallpaper peeled in long, curling strips. The house smelled like sawdust, mold, and faintly of bleach. Still, everyone was having fun. I tried to, too. There was a table of cheap drinks in red cups, and a guy wearing a skull mask kept trying to get everyone to take shots of something from a plastic bottle. People laughed, screamed, danced. After an hour, Jenna vanished with some guy dressed as a vampire. I wandered off alone. That's when I found the basement door. It was down a narrow hallway past the kitchen, a wooden door with a sign that said, "Do not enter electrical work." But I noticed something weird. The padlock that had once been there was hanging open. The light from the hall barely reached the first few steps. I remember thinking, this is stupid. But I also remember how quiet it was compared to the noise upstairs. So I took my phone out, turned on the flashlight, and went down. The basement was unfinished. Dirt floor, exposed beams, old furniture stacked in corners. It looked like no one had touched it in decades. My light flicked across something strange. Deep scratches on the concrete wall, long and uneven like someone had dragged metal against it. The air was cold down there, damp and still. I told myself it was just an old house. Rats, maybe. But when I turned to go back up, the light at the top of the stairs flickered, then went out. I was left in total darkness. At first, I thought someone had turned off the hallway light as a joke. I called out, "Hey!" Not funny. No answer. I tried to use my phone flashlight again, but it froze. Just a black screen. When it finally turned on, the beam felt weaker, like it barely pushed through the dark. And that's when I saw it, just for a second. A shape in the corner of the basement, tall. Still. Wrong. It looked human, but stretched. Its head bent forward like its neck couldn't hold the weight. Its skin was pale and shiny in the light, like wet paper. I blinked, and it was gone. I ran up the stairs, but the door at the top wouldn't open. I hit it with my shoulder, once, twice, but it felt locked from the outside. Then the basement light clicked back on. The bulb above me buzzed faintly, swinging side to side. There was no one there. My phone vibrated suddenly. A text from Jenna. "Where are you?" "Come to the living room." "They're doing costume photos." I shoved the door again, and this time it opened easily. Upstairs, everything looked normal. People were still laughing, music blasting. No one even noticed I'd been gone, but I couldn't stop thinking about what I'd seen. That shape, that silence. I found Jenna and told her what happened, but she just rolled her eyes. Probably some creep hiding down there. "Don't freak out. It's Halloween." Still, I couldn't relax. I kept watching the hall where the basement was. And that's when I noticed something else. The lights in that hallway would flicker every few minutes. Not like bad wiring, like something moving under them. Around midnight, the host announced they were doing a scary photo shoot in the basement, using a smoke machine and candles. I froze. A group of people laughed and grabbed props. I tried to tell them not to go, that it wasn't safe. They ignored me. 5 minutes later, I heard someone scream. The music cut. Everyone ran to the hallway. A guy stumbled out of the basement door, his costume torn, his arm bleeding. He was shouting, "Something's down there! Something's down there." People thought it was a prank. Even I did for a second, until I saw the look on his face. It wasn't fear like from a jump scare. It was the kind of fear that hollows you out. Police came later, said someone must have broken into the property before the party. They searched the basement and found nothing unusual, but they didn't see the photos. The next morning, one of the guests posted pictures from the party online. In the group photo, the one taken right before the scream, you can see us all smiling, and behind us, standing at the top of the basement stairs, is a figure, pale, bent, grinning too wide. It wasn't there when we took the picture. I moved out of town 2 weeks later. Jenna stopped talking about the party altogether. The Whitmore house was sold again, then boarded up. Sometimes when I scroll through old photos, I see that one pop up again in my feed, reposted by someone new. Always tagged with creepiest real Halloween party ever. I always report it. Always try to make it disappear. But it never stays gone for long because every time it comes back, there's something new in the picture. Closer to the camera. Reaching. I've worked at a costume rental shop for almost 5 years now. The kind that pops up every October, selling cheap plastic masks, fake blood, and polyester capes. We close every year the week after Halloween, and then the building sits empty until the next fall. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills. And last year something happened there that I've never told anyone about. Until now. It was Halloween night. We were closing early because the owner, Rick, wanted to go to some big house party. Only 2 of us were working, me and a new girl named Lacey. She was quiet, maybe 21, always scrolling her phone. The store was a mess. Fake cobwebs tangled in racks and spilled glitter, empty shelves. Around 8:45 p.m., we started doing inventory, scanning the remaining masks before boxing them up. Rick had a system. Every mask had to be counted before we locked up. He'd bragged once about how some rare latex mask got stolen the year before, a custom piece worth hundreds. So, we were careful. At least, until we found it. The mask was sitting on a display hook by itself near the back wall. It wasn't one of ours. I know that sounds odd, but when you work with this stuff, you recognize the product lines, the tags, the style, the smell of the rubber. This mask didn't match anything. It was a human face, too realistic. The skin tone was uneven, pale and blotchy. The mouth was curled in a stiff grin that showed flat yellow teeth. But the part that made me stop was the eyes. They looked glassy, real, almost wet. Lacey laughed. That's creepy. Is it like a movie prop? No, I said slowly. We don't carry this brand. There wasn't a tag. Just an old frayed string on the back like it had been tied onto something else. We both just stared at it for a minute. Maybe Rick brought it in as a joke, Lacey said, but she looked uneasy. We set it aside on the counter, planning to ask Rick when he got back. Around 9, the lights flickered. It wasn't uncommon. The building was old, but this time they dimmed almost completely before buzzing back to life. Lacey groaned. Great, power surge. We went back to work. I started scanning the last of the inventory while she mopped the floor near the dressing area. That's when I heard it. A laugh. Soft. Dry. Like someone breathing out through their nose. I turned around, thinking Lacey was behind me. She wasn't. She was at the far end of the aisle, earbuds in, facing the wall. But the laugh came again, closer this time. Lacey, I said. She looked up. What? Did you hear that? Hear what? I didn't answer, because as I turned toward the counter, I saw the mask wasn't there anymore. I scanned the counter twice, then the floor. Nothing. My stomach dropped. Hey, I said, did you move that creepy mask? What mask? She asked, walking over. The one we found, the smiling one. I left it right here, she frowned. No, I didn't touch it. We both looked around the store. It wasn't big. Maybe 6 aisles, 1 changing room, and a back storage closet. There weren't many places for it to go. Then from somewhere in the back came a sound. Tap, 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 slow footsteps. Someone's here, Lacey whispered. I grabbed the flashlight from under the counter. Store's closed, I yelled. We're locking up. No answer. The sound stopped. I walked toward the storage room, my heart thudding. The door was slightly open. I pushed it wider and froze. The mask was hanging on the wall hook inside the closet. Only now the grin was wider. It sounds impossible, I know. But I swear it was. The mouth had stretched, tearing slightly at the edges like rubber pulled too far. And underneath it, on the dusty floor, were footprints. Bare feet, I slammed the door shut. "Let's go," I said, grabbing my bag. "Now." But Lacey wasn't listening. She was staring at the dressing room curtain, which had started to sway slightly, like someone had just stepped inside. Before I could stop her, she walked over and yanked the curtain open, empty, or it should have been. There was a full-length mirror on the back wall, and in it, just behind our reflection, was the mask. Hanging in midair, we both screamed and stumbled back. The curtain rod clattered to the floor. The reflection flickered a mug and the mask was gone. We didn't wait. We ran straight out the front door, locking it behind us. We sat in my car for a long time, shaking, watching the dark windows of the store. Nothing moved. Finally, around 10:30, Rick called. "Hey, why'd you guys leave early?" I got a text from the alarm company. Motion sensors going off. We tried to explain, but he didn't believe us. Thought we were drunk or trying to skip cleanup. The next morning, he called again. "You two better not be screwing with me," he said. I checked the cameras. I asked what he meant. He said, "You left the building at 9:30, right?" "Yeah." "Well, the cameras show someone else in there after you left, wearing that mask." He said the figure walked down every aisle, stopping in front of the camera each time. Just standing there, staring. Then it turned toward the door, tilted its head and smiled. Rick thought it was a prank. He even showed the footage to the police, but they couldn't identify whoever it was. The weirdest part? The next morning when he opened the shop, everything was in place. Except one thing. The mask was gone. We didn't reopen this year. Rick told me he couldn't renew the lease. Said he kept hearing things when he went in to clean. Footsteps, humming, laughter. A few weeks ago, he sent me a picture. Someone had slid a package under his office door. No return address, no note. Inside was the mask, and the grin was wider than ever. I never believed in haunted houses. Sure, I liked horror movies and ghost stories, but I always figured that if you hear a noise in the dark, it's the pipes or the wind, not something paranormal. That changed last Halloween. It started with an invitation. A week before Halloween, my college friend Matt texted me, "Bro, you gotta come to this one. It's not some frat house thing. It's in this abandoned property my cousin's flipping. We're turning it into a one-night haunted party. Bring whoever." At first I said no. I'd just gotten back from a work trip, exhausted, and the idea of standing in a freezing, half-renovated building surrounded by drunk 20-somethings didn't appeal to me. But curiosity won. Matt was the kind of guy who could make even the worst night seem like an adventure. So I went. The place was on the edge of town. A massive 2-story colonial-style house, set back from the road, surrounded by overgrown trees. It looked normal from a distance, but as I got closer, I noticed the windows were all blacked out. Not with curtains, with boards. There were cars parked along the dirt drive, lights flashing from inside, muffled bass shaking the walls. I almost turned around, but then I saw Matt waving from the porch. "Dude, you made it," he yelled, handing me a drink. "Come on, you gotta see this place. The guy who owned it before went insane or something, left all his stuff inside." He laughed like it was part of the party theme. I laughed too, but something about the house felt heavy. When I crossed the threshold, the air changed, colder, denser. The music suddenly seemed distant, like it was playing underwater. Inside, it looked like someone had tried to decorate but stopped halfway. Fake cobwebs tangled with real ones. Streamers hung from cracked plaster. In the corner of the living room, an old grandfather clock ticked steadily, though no one had said it. "Creepy, right?" Matt said, noticing me staring. "We found it like that. It still works even though the power in half the house doesn't. That should have been my first clue." The first hour was fine, people laughing, drinking, taking selfies in the dusty hallway. Someone even brought a fog machine, but around 11 the house started to feel different. At first it was small things. The power flickered. Doors we hadn't touched creaked open. Then the music stopped, and all at once, Matt swore and went to check the speaker setup. When he came back, he was pale. "Dude, the outlet's fine. The power's on. It's like the Bluetooth just disconnected." Someone joked about the ghost DJ, but no one laughed. We decided to go upstairs, hoping to restart the music from Matt's phone. The staircase was narrow and steep. Halfway up, I thought I heard whispering, faint, like a radio just out of range. I asked Matt if he heard it. He shook his head. Nah, man. Probably just the wind, but there wasn't any wind. The air was perfectly still. When we reached the second floor, I noticed something strange. The hallway lights were on, but I couldn't see the bulbs. Just this dim orange glow coming from nowhere in particular. There were 5 doors and all closed. Pick one, Matt said. I'll show you how freaky this place is. He opened the first door on the right. Inside was a small bedroom completely untouched. Dusty furniture. A bed with a sheet half pulled off. A mirror leaned against the wall, covered with a yellowing bedsheet. Matt lifted the sheet. I don't know how else to say this. The reflection was wrong. We were both in it. But the room behind us looked darker. Not shadow dark, like old. Like the mirror was showing a version of the room from decades ago, and there was someone standing behind us in that reflection. A woman. Pale. Long hair covering her face. I spun around. No one there. When I looked back, the mirror showed only us. Okay, Matt said, nervous laugh. That's enough creepy for one night. We left the room, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the house was watching us. Downstairs, people were still trying to fix the music. One girl was crying quietly, saying she saw someone standing in the kitchen doorway who wasn't part of the group. Everyone brushed it off as nerves. But then someone pointed out something chilling. The front door was gone. We all froze where the door had been, the one we walked through. There was now just an unbroken stretch of wall. Same wallpaper, same cracks, no seam, no hinges. Matt tried another exit. The back door led to a pitch-black space that didn't look like the yard anymore. Just endless black. No sound. No wind. That's when panic set in. Everyone started yelling, trying to call for help, but no one's phone had signal. Even worse, the time on every phone read 12 a.m., no minutes. No seconds. Just stuck. I told Matt we had to get everyone into one room, stay together. We chose the living room, turned on our phone flashlights, and waited. Then came the music. Not from a speaker, from upstairs. A faint, scratchy waltz played from somewhere in the second floor. Like an old gramophone, warped and slow. Who the hell turned that on? Someone whispered. Matt grabbed a flashlight and started toward the stairs. I followed. The music got louder as we climbed. When we reached the landing, the orange light was gone. The hall was pitch dark. The sound came from the last door on the left. Matt turned the knob. It opened easily. Inside was another bedroom. But this one was different. There were decorations everywhere and orange streamers, candles, old glass bottles. And in the center of the room, a record player spun slowly on the floor, even though it wasn't plugged in. The record itself was blank. Matt bent down to touch it. Don't, I said, but it was too late. The instant his fingers brushed the vinyl, the music stopped. Then all the candles went out. The silence that followed wasn't normal. It felt like the house was holding its breath. Then, from the hallway, and a soft shuffle of feet, not running, not stomping, just slow, steady steps coming closer. We backed into the corner. My flashlight flickered, and for one heartbeat I saw something move past the doorway. A tall shadow gliding, not walking. Matt whispered, "Who's there?" No answer. Then the record player started again, but this time instead of music it played a voice. It was whispering, faint, distorted, but words were clear enough to make my skin crawl. "You came for the party. Now the house will host you." I felt something brush my arm, cold like static. The candles reignited by themselves all at once, and there, standing beside the record player, was the woman from the mirror. Only now she wasn't a reflection. Her head tilted unnaturally to one side, eyes black and sunken. Her mouth was open in a smile that stretched far too wide. We ran. We didn't look back. We sprinted down the stairs through the living room. And suddenly the front door was there again. We didn't question it. We burst outside into freezing air. The house behind us was dark. No lights. No sound. Everyone who had been inside was already outside too, dazed, crying, shaking. No one remembered how they got out. The next day we went back. The house was empty. No decorations. No record player. No signs of the party. The police said there were no reports of property ownership or renovation permits. The land itself was listed as abandoned for over 30 years. Matt stopped answering calls after that. A few months later, I found out he'd moved away without telling anyone. Sometimes I dream about that house. Always the same. I'm standing on the porch, music playing faintly inside. The door opens and the woman's voice whispers, "The party isn't over." Then I wake up at exactly 12 a.m. every time.